Hi, welcome to my podcast, Becoming a Cut Flower Grower. I'm your host, Lydia, and I'm here to share my year of growing and selling cut flowers. I'll be giving you the lowdown on everything I'm doing and sharing all the highs and lows, the good times and the inevitable disasters, all in real time. Join me on my cut flower journey, starting right now. Good morning. Hello. I hope you're well. Welcome to the podcast. I am just on the plot this morning. I'm letting out all the chickens and the ducks. Here are the babies, Kylie and her babies. Good morning, guys. Hello. Let's go and get some breakfast. So I had a message from a fan of the show, and she said, full disclosure, she's my best friend, so I know she's a fan. I'm not just bigging myself up. And she said, why haven't we heard from Kylie? What's going on with Kylie and the babies? So I thought I'd better do an opening up. Kylie! Better do an opening up of the chickens and the ducks so that you can hear the little babies. So we are at the start of a heat wave here. It's kind of terrifying, actually. I have to say, I'm not looking forward to this week enormously. So if you're a regular listener, you'll know I had that complete disaster with the leaving the tap running and emptied out my water bowsers, and I lost 1,400 litres of water overnight, which is just horrendous. So we're having to be really, really cautious with the water up here at the moment. We've got enough for everybody. But it's, we haven't got enough to be generous with the water. So the animals obviously are the top priority, and the ducks get through quite a bit of water every day. So it's just a week where you just think, oh my goodness, do we really want this much heat this early on in the year? But there we are. I mean, that's just life, and these disasters happen and you just have to deal with it. So let me get these noisy ducks up and out of bed. You can probably hear them. They're always extremely keen to get started with the day. Hello everybody, good morning. Good morning. Hi guys. Hello. Ooh, we've got some eggs. Thank you very much. Thank you, girls. Got 4 big duck eggs and some very hungry birdies. Here we go. There we go. There we are. As soon as the food goes down, total silence. Everybody's busy stuffing their faces. So we've got a variety of bowls and containers set up for everybody. So I was on the plot last night just checking out those nigellas that I planted out. I put a little video on the Instagram just showing me carrying them out. And I should say I did it in the evening. I didn't do it in the full sun because I wouldn't recommend that anybody plants anything out in the full sun, just because none of the seedlings have got a big enough root system to be able to deal with that. And, if you did it with big plants or anything, if you were taking cuttings, you'd cut the top of the foliage in half, and then the plant's not going to be losing so much moisture through transpiration through its leaves. But obviously you're not going to do that with seedlings. So the nigella went out, and so far they're doing absolutely fine. So we're quite lucky, well, sort of lucky on the plot, that it doesn't get any sunshine until the afternoon. So in the morning it's really quite wet up here. We've got quite a thick dew on the grass all year round, and in the summer as well. So everybody gets kind of a natural watering first thing in the morning, and then the sun comes round about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then it absolutely bakes because we are facing west. So they do get a bit of a pasting in the afternoon, but the soil has always been really good here. I've learned since I've been planting things up here, and so far everything is doing fine. So once I plant things in, and this is a rule I have generally just for my gardening work, they get a good water when they go in, and they might get a couple of waters after that, and then they just have to get on with it. So I haven't been watering the perennials, haven't been watering anything else that's up here. They just get a really good soak when they go in, and that's it. Then they're on their own. And I think you get really strong, really, really good strong plants. Now, obviously, there's my situation could be very different to yours. So I wouldn't say to everybody like that is the golden rule, but what you want to encourage is for the roots to get down as fast as possible and as deep as possible. And if you're doing little bits of watering on the day, every day rather, the plants can just go a bit soft and be a bit lazy, and they'll just stay right. All the roots will just be quite up close to the surface. And then if you have a period of dryness or you run out of water, anything like that happens, they're really going to struggle. So I have a bit of a tough love policy with them, and so far it's all working out fine. So I've got quite a busy day today, and I'm going off to be making hanging baskets for a fantastic plant nursery about 20 minutes away from where I live. And I'm just helping the owner out doing that. And they're really fantastic ones. The owner is this incredible lady. She runs the nursery by herself with a husband, but it's her thing. And she does these wonderful hanging baskets. They're absolutely enormous. And they've got like a rounded top. So they're not flat tops like you'd see in the garden centre. It's not like a half basket. She makes like a big dome on the top, and the whole basket is wrapped in moss. So the base, the top, around all the plants, completely covered in moss. And they're stunning. So I'm helping her out doing that. And it's really nice because I'd forgotten how lovely it is to be on a plant nursery again. She's open to the public. So there are people coming through all the time, and they want to stop and have a chat and ask questions. And it's really lovely. For somebody like me who's very introverted and loves to be by themselves and is just generally quite frightened of other people, it's actually really nice to just drop into this world for a little bit and get to chat to people. And then, they don't stay long. It might just be like 30 seconds or something, and then they've gone. But you just get that really nice interaction with people on a sort of surface level without getting too deep into anything, which I really love. So I'm off to do that. So everybody has got food and everybody's got water. In fact, most of them have got 2 sources of water, just in case somebody trips over a bowl or these things happen and you turn up and nobody's got any water. And Kylie's babies are running around. We've got Lion, who's a little boy, little Mo, who's a little girl, and then we've got Moland. And Moland was the first one to hatch, and I've been picking him up a couple of times a day since he was born, because they're all going to be staying on site, and it's really important to handle the cockerels regularly so they get used to you and they don't turn into monsters that try and murder you when they're older, which happens. So yeah, they're really cute. That's Roland. Really cute little guys, and they're doing fine. So I'm going to pack up here, go off on my job, and I will finish the rest of the episode later. Hello, welcome back. It is just gone 8 o'clock on Tuesday evening, and I'm up on the plot. It's been such a fraught, busy day. If you thought I sounded a bit fraught in the first part of this episode, well, I sound even worse now. I'm finally sitting down, which is great. Just having a look at everything and trying not to rush around too much, but actually just sit and take it all in, because I've been off the plot all day doing other stuff, and I really hate it when I have days like this because I feel very disconnected from whatever's going on. And when it's this hot, I was just worry about what's going on, and has somebody tipped their water bowl over? Is everybody okay? Anyway, I got up here and I've been rushing around doing stuff, and Danny's decided she's gone broody as well, so that's all fun and games. But I was just rushing around, and I heard this sort of little cheeping sound, and there was little Moland, and I was talking about him this morning because he's such a sweet little boy, and he follows me around. He's so friendly, and he was just there at my feet cheeping, and he wanted to cuddle. So I thought, right, Lydia, just pause, just put everything down, stop what you're doing, just take 5 minutes with him just to relax and calm down. It's just been really busy. I rushed home at lunchtime, and it was absolutely baking hot, and the greenhouse was boiling, even though the door's open and the window's open, and some of the seedlings were really struggling. So I had to shift them outside which I probably should have done this morning, but I didn't realize it was going to be quite so bad. And some of them tolerate it. Like, they have absolutely no issues. The zinnias were like, yeah, this is amazing. We totally love this. And all the English things were like, oh my God, this is awful. We can't cope. Some of the cornflowers had just collapsed. So that was what I thought was going to be like a nice calm hour to center myself at lunchtime, after being in a greenhouse all morning doing hanging baskets. And you can imagine the temperature on that. Turned out to be just dismantling everything in the greenhouse and carrying stuff outside. And I actually ended up taking a couple of panes of the glass out of the greenhouse just to drop the temperature, and also I put a load of water down on the floor to reduce the temperature as well. So the panes, some of the panes are actually like a perspex. They were broken when I got it, so instead of replacing them with glass, I replaced them with perspex, and you can have perspex cut to order online and just delivered, and it's really, really cheap. It's cheaper than glass. So that for those sort of really awkward, like corner ones or rectangular ones that aren't sort of a standardy size, you can just get them. So they're really easy to just pop the fixtures out and just lift them out. They don't weigh anything. It's not like the glass, which just weighs a ton. So really busy lunchtime, and then really busy afternoon rushing around. And yeah, not my favorite thing to be doing in this heat, to be honest. So what I wanted to talk about briefly this evening was a couple of questions that I've had, based on one of them's based on a previous episode, the last episode, and one of them's from a question that came up on my Instagram, because obviously a lot of you aren't on it, and therefore you're not going to see any questions. So in the last episode, I talked about this incredible excitement I had about using the mini digger to clear some more turf so that I had more planting space. And I haven't actually heard back from the landscaper yet, so I'm slightly on the edge of my seat about that. But I did see him this morning as I was leaving the village, gave him a massive cheery wave out the window. I thought, don't stop and ask him if he's made a decision and if he can get back to you. I thought, just be really casual and friendly and just wave out the window so it jogs his memory, but he doesn't think, oh, not that woman again. So the question was, isn't having a mini digger run counter to the whole no dig policy, which I have? And it's a really good question, because I am all about no dig, not disturbing the soil and the structure and all the invertebrates living in there and everything. But when it comes to actually getting started, there is an element of, having to get turf lifted or having to remove weeds. There's no way around it. And if you don't use chemicals, which I don't, you can't put anything down to kill off any weeds or kill the grass or anything like that. The only other thing you can do if you're going to start years in advance is put some kind of material down, like black plastic or something like that, and everything underneath it will die. Although it does take a number of years to kill perennial weeds, things like nettles and bindweed and stuff, because they just are really hard to kill. So they'll just go around the plastic and make their way up somewhere else. So there is no alternative to clearing weeds and turf if you're just starting off. And yes, you could do it by hand like I have done on the plots so far, and literally just take the plant material away and shake the soil off the roots, and it's all very lovely and natural, and that is fine. But when you're trying to clear a really big area, like 200 square meters, it would take me a very long time to do that by hand. And it's absolutely back-breaking as well. Physically, it's really difficult. So in the scheme of badness, probably having a mini digger scraping off the turf is probably the least of the bad options that I could do. And the guy is going, God willing, he is literally going to scrape the turf off for me. So we're not having the soil itself disturbed. So yes, there is going to be a minimal level of soil disturbance, but it's essentially just to get the turf and the roots out. And the grass roots don't go down very far. So I'm hoping that there will be, well, I will tell him to have minimal soil disruption, and then I will be putting compost that I've got down on top of the soil, so I can be planting into that, and the roots will then be strong enough to get their way down into the soil below. So I hope that answers that question, because I guess saying that you're going to have a mini digger on site sounds very destructive, and it's really not going to be in terms of the soil. So the second question I had, which is a really excellent one, was about plant spacings for my sweet peas, because obviously on the video you can see that I've planted them really close together. This is a bit of a gamble. I have never grown sweet peas on this kind of scale before. I've done them in garden for years and for clients, and you just train them up a wigwam, and you might put maybe 5 around a cane or some other hazel structure, but you're not cramming them in the intensity that I'm doing. And so the danger with planting them too close together, of course, is that you reduce the airflow around the plants, and that can cause fungal problems, powdery mildew, issues like that. And if you're no chemical like me, then you've got to find then natural ways of treating that. The other problem is that you can have, what is going on in there? Stop it, guys. Sorry, the chick's having a bit of a squabble behind me. The second problem is too much competition for nutrients and water. Because the roots are all going to be quite close together and they're all going to be competing, and you don't want to end up with really weak plants as a result of it. Now, I'm not worried about that at all, because the soil is super rich. The chickens have been on it, pooping on it for years, and it's fine. And I'm also not worried about the water situation, because I've situated the sweet peas right in front of where the ducks are, and I have to empty their water bowls a couple of times a day. So there's plenty of water, grey water, that gets put back onto the soil, that flows down the slope, and we'll be watering everything. And the third issue is really tangling of stems. Now, I had said that I was going to be removing all the tendrils, but I don't quite know where the time is going to come from to do that, but that was the plan. And the danger is, if everything's too close together, the tendrils all get caught up with the other stems of their neighbours, and you can end up with a really big tangly mess, which results in like distorted stems. The foliage gets all squashed. The actual flower stems get distorted and tangled, and you can't cut them, or they're not straight, or they break. The airflow, I'm not too worried about the airflow, although you'll know if you watch the video that I have got sheets of like plastic roofing material behind them, which is to stop the ducks and Chelsea and Roland sticking their heads through the fence panels and eating the plants before they even get going. But generally speaking, the plot is in the middle of a field. We get pretty good airflow through here anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. That's why I've planted mine so close. So you'll have to make a call on that based on your own personal situation. And it could be that you just try a couple of different spacings, maybe 2 or 3, and see what's the maximum number of plants that you can put into a space and still guarantee that they have a decent enough airflow, that they get plenty of nutrients and water, and that the stems don't end up as a horrible mess. So you could experiment with that. And if mine is a bit of a disaster, then, absolute worst case scenario, I will dig up every other sweet pea and just move them somewhere else. I've got masses of coppiced hazel. The only trouble with that is being able to get it into the ground far enough that the wigwams don't blow over, which is why I wanted to use the fence panels, because they're a lot more stable. So we'll see how we get on with that. So that's the questions that I thought I would answer this afternoon. So I'd like to end this episode by just talking about limiting factors. So when you're talking about growing, things like the limiting factors are, nutrients, water, sunlight, airflow, time actually is one of them. Anything that is going to slow down the growth of either your flowers or your business. And right now, the limiting factors are, for me anyway, are water, because of my stupid mistake, and time. So you kind of think in January, February, that you just cannot wait for the longer days, because you'll be able to get so much done. When it gets dark at 3:30, you're like, this is rubbish. I'm just going to have to go inside and it's all dark and I can't get anything done. And then you get to this time of year, and it's light until, it's 8:30 now, and it's still light enough to work. So probably just have enough light till maybe 8:45, 9 o'clock. And you think, well, that's amazing, because what an incredibly long day. You can get so much done. But honestly, there is so much to do at this time of year. It's extraordinary. And I'm up really early, and I'm up here on the plot at 9 o'clock at night. And then by the time I get home, it's like 9:15. And then there's meals to prep and washing to do, and emails and correspondence and messages to deal with, all the normal admin and ordering of stuff. There's just a lot going on. And I'm not really the best person to advise you because there aren't enough hours in the day for me, and I try and work as efficiently as possible. But what I would stress is it's really important to carve out some time, like time for your business, time for your flowers, but also more importantly, time for you, because it's easy to kind of lose yourself in the busyness and the really long days, and to just try and fit too much in, get a bit overwhelmed, and burn burn out. So hang on in there with everything that you're doing. I'm sure you're doing an amazing job. And just remember to carve out a little bit of time for you so that you can just stay focused on what you need to do. And sorry if you can hear all the chickens in the background. They've chosen this moment of the entire hour that I've been up here, and the moment that I try and say something really profound, everybody has decided to start clucking like crazy things, and they're supposed to be in bed anyway. But hopefully when I listen back to this, it is still salvageable and you can still hear what I'm saying. Anyway, I hope the rest of the week goes really well for you and you get everything that you need to done, and you manage to carve out some time for yourself. And I will be back with another episode on Friday. All right, catch you then.